from my quiver of capitalists, the all-American, American history teacher, the gold standard of economics, Professor G here, and congratulations on leveling up to Unit 2. Today we're going to talk about the law of demand, and we're going to break the law of demand in two separate parts to really go into the very technical wording of the law of demand. And to think about the law of demand, I want you to think about the average price you are willing to pay for a slice of pizza in the 5 boroughs or wherever you are, and for who's watching. And think about the average slice of pizza goes for around $2.50. Now the accepted price that we are willing to pay, and think about the average amount of pizza you are willing to eat at $2.50 a slice. Probably about 2 slices. So, demand is our ability and willingness of, so the consumer, ability and willingness. So we're talking about the product market. So as a household, it's us acting as a consumer in the product market, and two very important words, our, in that product market, and as a consumer, demand represents the ability and the willingness to make purchases. So think about that slice of pizza, and let's say there are 35 of us watching, let's say at $2.50. 35 of us would each have 2 slices for a total of 70 slices. However, let's say you're traveling, or let's say the price of pizza goes up, and let's say you find a slice for $4, a little more, and at $4, think about how many slices would you have? Would you have a slice? And if so, how many slices would you have? So now maybe there's less of us who would even buy that $4 slice of pizza, and your regular slice of pizza. In law of demand and law of supply, this is called et ceteris paribus, Latin for all else equal. So the also, or just generic, everything else about this slice of pizza, et ceteris paribus, everything else is equal. So at $4, think about, would you get a slice of pizza, and for how many slices of pizza would you get? So the price is increasing as the price increased to $4, the quantity demanded is decreasing. So let's say maybe now we're only collectively, out of 35 people, we're only going to get 35 slices. What we see here is the first aspect of the law of demand. And this is very specifically, this is always a trick question on the multiple choice. And it's annoyingly worded, it's one of the most annoying vocabulary words of the course, but this is very specifically called a change in quantity demanded. So that our demand curve, and here's our demand curve, and our demand curve illustrates the concept we are talking about. That is, the price increases, there is a decrease in quantity that we are willing to buy. The price immediately decreases our ability and our willingness to make a purchase. However, if et ceteris paribus, all else being equal, there was pizza that was $1. That's a same slice of pizza, a regular slice of pizza. Think about, for $1, how willing and able are you to buy one slice of pizza? And are you potentially more willing and more able to buy even more than one? 2. Maybe you splurge, you get 3 slices of pizza. Again, a regular et ceteris paribus, regular slice of pizza. So with $1, maybe we would have 100 slices being bought out of the 35 of us. And so this demand curve, here we have the demand curve. It's called a curve, but it's a straight line. This curve just generally means graph. As we know, we saw the concave PVC, that was like an actual curve. But the demand curve is your generic, just straight, downward sloping line illustrating what we did. And if we did a full survey and we plotted the points of that survey, you would have the demand curve would, to an extent, be that plot. Now, if you're studying and you come across a demand curve that is actually kind of like curved like this, and something along those lines, this is showing that at a certain point, the price levels off on the quantity demanded. So sometimes you will see demand curves that are shaped a little differently, that they actually kind of a more curve to them. That is showing that price levels off, the quantity demanded levels off regardless of the price. So think about it. If you took a full survey and you plotted the points of the survey with the price being the y-axis, the quantity being the x-axis, you would have this demand curve. And this demand curve is based on what is called very specifically change in quantity demanded. Think about the entire conversation that we just had. What was the only thing discussed in that conversation? Price. So a change in quantity demand is a change in quantity demanded, a change in the quantity that we are willing and able to purchase, and that change is due only to a change in price. And graphically, remember, graphs are visualizations of the economy. Graphically, this is illustrated by what is called a movement along the curve. Because as we were doing this example, what did we see? First, we started out here. So first we had $2.50 and 70 quantity demanded. Let's call that E, E meaning equilibrium. Then the price increased to $4, and as the price increased to $4, what do we see? It was literally a movement along this curve at $4. Only 35 slices were bought. We'll call that E1. But then, as the price went down to $1, we went back down the curve. We call this E2, where at $1, the 35 of us being surveyed were now willing and able to buy 100 slices. All of these changes were due only to a change of the y-axis, and they changed the quantity demanded inversely. The higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. The lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. So be careful on a multiple choice question, because they are going to say specifically, worded specifically, this would be called a change in quantity demanded, due only to a change in price. And it results in only movements to the left. And that's also another point you have to be careful of, that in graphs, there is no up and down. There is only left representing decrease, right representing increase. So here, as the price went up, this was a movement along the curve. And be careful, there was not an increase, even though E to E1 looks like it's moving up. It's more of an optical illusion. E to E1 is a leftward movement, representing a decrease in quantity demanded. What you have to do is you have to really follow what's going on in the x-axis, in this case the quantity. And we see it is a decrease in quantity demanded. Whereas if the price went down, this will inversely increase the quantity demanded. The lower the price, the more willing and the more able we are to buy. And this is represented as a rightward movement along the curve, representing an increase. You see, as the price goes down, the quantity demanded increases. So be careful, there's a lot of subtle rules here, but the rules all make sense. They all follow what is happening along these axes and happening left and right along this curve. In our next video, now if you think about yourselves as consumers, there is more that affects your ability and willingness regardless of price. In our next video, part 2 of Law of Demand, we're going to take a look at what are the factors that, if price stays the same, but one of these factors change, the ability and willingness of us to purchase products also changes. So we're going to take a look at that, how that affects the graph, and the technical vocabulary names for it as well. So this way, if the AP test tries to sneak in those questions are actually really a gift because we know how the graphs operate. So in our next video, we're going to take a look at changes in demand regardless of price. Price stays the same, something else about the product that affects our ability and willingness to buy the product changes. So we'll see you in our next video. Remember, money never sleeps.